Well, Commanders fans, the Myles Garrett dream is officially over in Commanders Nation here as the Cleveland Browns have brought back Myles Garrett on an unprecedented contract that is going to be paying him $40 million per season, making him by far the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the National Football League, and he'll be making $123.5 million of that fully guaranteed. Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. We're going to be breaking down what this means for the Washington Commanders and why it is bad news for Commanders fans as they look to bring in their new number one edge rusher this offseason. But this is just the start, guys. Tomorrow we start with our breaking news coverage of NFL free agency, and trust me, the Commanders are going to be busy. They got cap space. They got holes on their roster that they need to fill here, guys. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now, because every time they make a move, there's some whispers that they could re-sign Jeremy Chinn by the end of the day today. If that happens, we'll get a breaking news video out to you guys right here on the channel. So make sure you click that subscribe button to never miss a move during free agency. So now that Myles Garrett is locked up to that $40 million contract in Cleveland, what happens now for the Washington Commanders at the number one edge rusher position? Because all offseason, ever since Myles Garrett asked for a trade, requested a trade, demanded a trade, whatever you guys want to call it, from the Cleveland Browns, my number one priority would have been to get Myles Garrett here with the Washington Commanders. But now that that is no longer a possibility, the first name that comes to my mind in terms of who could be this team's star edge rusher of the future, it is Trey Hendrickson, the player that led the league in sacks just last year in the NFL. Earlier today, Diana Rossini reported that the Commanders are among the many teams exploring a potential trade for Bengals All-Pro edge rusher Trey Hendrickson, per sources. And you guys can take a look at his stats, man. Trey Hendrickson is an absolute beast. 17.5 sacks the last 2 seasons. Just an absolute force of nature. Now, he doesn't have the longest arms in the world, but, man, he knows how to he knows how to win with power. He knows how to win with finesse. He is such a presence, and his motor just runs forever, which is something that I really love about him. He also had 19 tackles for loss last year and 2 forced fumbles. So he's not as good as Myles Garrett, in my opinion, which is why I would only give up 1 first-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. But listen, man, Hendrickson is a hell of a player, and he's still relatively young. He can absolutely be the Washington Commanders' star edge rusher of the future still. The trade compensation, I actually don't think is the trickier aspect of this potential deal. I think now the trickier aspect in terms of a Trey Hendrickson trade is how much money are you going to give him? Because now the edge rusher market has been set at $40 million per season, and Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks last year over Myles Garrett. All right, so he might be saying, hey, man, I had a better season than Garrett last year. You got to pay me over $40 million if you want to trade for me and bring me into your team. And just plain and simply, guys, if that's what his asking price is and that's what he is going to demand from his next team, I'm not paying $40 million per season, all right? Just because the Cleveland Browns are stupid enough to reset the market by $5 million, that doesn't mean that I am going to be that dumb and make the same mistake, all right? I think that he would be worth somewhere in the range of 35 to 38 million is probably the absolute red line that I would not cross with Trey Hendrickson. I think he'd be a hell of a player here with the Washington Commanders defense. This is a defense that does need to get better, an edge rusher. If you can add a true superstar at the position, and that is what Trey Hendrickson is, you can really get a lot better. But there is something to be said about paying an edge rusher quarterback level money. Like Geno Smith is going to be making around $40 million with the Las Vegas Raiders this year. Myles Garrett's going to be making the same amount of money. There's not even 20 players in the entire National Football League that will be making as much money as Myles Garrett is heading into 2025. So that's just not something I'm willing to do for Trey Hendrickson. The absolute bottom line for me, guys, a first-round pick along with $38 million per season, but I'm not going a dime over that. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you accept this trade for Trey Hendrickson, give up your first-round pick this year, and have to pay him $38 million or something around that range? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. A for accept or D for decline. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Fanatics. While I'm talking about Fanatics, give me an A or a D down there in the comment section. Now let's have a word from our sponsor here at Factor Meals. And let me ask you guys a question here. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor meals have chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, so you can feel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals. Based on a randomized clinical trial with Factor Keto, results will vary depending on diet and exercise. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or even Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor Meals today. Get started with factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code FACTORPODCAST. It's on your screen right now to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. A big thank you to Factor Meals for sponsoring today's edition of the Commanders Report. So if Trey Hendrickson does ask for $40 million and the Commanders do not want to trade for him and pay him that kind of contract, what other options at edge rusher are available for GM Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, the head coach, to go out and get in free agency this year? Well, there's the two Charger edge rushers, Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. I think Bosa, because of the injuries and the lack of production in the last few years, I think his contract's actually going to be pretty affordable, but Khalil Mack is still playing at a really high level, especially as a run defender, so he's going to be worth 2 years, $22.5 million per season, according to PFF. That's a price that I would be much more willing to pay than, say, $40 million for Trey Hendrickson. Josh Sweat is also a player to keep in mind here, has played in the division. Right now he's projected at 3 years, $18 million per year. Hassan Reddick didn't have a great season last year, wasn't in the best shape. He's had some issues in terms of, getting along with the teams that he signs with. But I think he would be a good fit in this defense, helmed by Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn. And then DeMarcus Lawrence obviously has played in this scheme before. He's coming off an injury, and because of that, he will be very, very inexpensive in terms of true number one edge rushers. 2 years, $7.5 million for him. Those would be my top free agency targets, but there are other options out there, guys like Malcolm Kuntz, who missed the entire 2024 season with an injury he suffered in training camp. Someone like Matthew Judon, who is a former number one edge rusher, but really didn't play well last year. Joshua Uche is an interesting name as well. Charles Omenihu is somebody that could certainly fit in this scheme. But personally, guys, I think that you would probably go with one of the top guys, the top 5 guys we talked about earlier, if I am looking for a true number one edge rusher. And then also I would think about bringing back Dante Fowler Jr. I thought he made some really impact plays last year, forcing fumbles, getting after the quarterback in big moments, and you can get him back, according to Pro Football Focus, for just a 1 year, $5.5 million deal. I mean, you're bringing back somebody that has experience in this scheme, somebody that's been very productive in this scheme, as somebody that's going to come in and probably be at the very least, a really good rotational edge rusher for this football team. I really want Dante Fowler Jr. back, especially if he can get him for that price tag. So what I would do if I were GM Adam Peters right now is I would be kicking the tires on Trey Hendrickson, all right, but I have to get a reasonable price for him, all right? I'm willing to give up a first-round pick this year, number 29 overall, in exchange for Hendrickson, but Hendrickson is going to have to want to come here for a reasonable price, something that is less than $38 million per season. If I can get that done, that is the move that I would make at the position. But if he's asking for $40 million, I'm not bringing him back, and I'm probably signing Khalil Mack instead. And then either way, I would bring back Dante Fowler Jr. because Trey Hendrickson, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler Jr., that's a really good threesome of edge rushers for the Commanders to use. And then Khalil Mack, Dorrance Armstrong, and Dante Fowler Jr. is also a really good rotation of edge rushers for this team to utilize to get after quarterbacks and hopefully make this defense a whole lot better than it was in 2024. So let me know down there in the comment section, what's the plan at edge right now that Myles Garrett is off the table? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Do you want to trade for Trey Hendrickson? Do you want to sign Khalil Mack? Do you want to bring in DeMarcus Lawrence? Do you want you want to draft somebody in the NFL draft this year? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson is number one on my list, but you got to get him at the right price. That'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report, guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now, because if we get any more breaking news throughout the day, Dante Fowler Jr., if Jeremy Chin, if anybody else re-signs with the Commanders, we will get a video out to you guys as soon as we possibly can. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, go raise some hail.